little bit of down home. Life's a line with a splash of so cold, if you know what I'm talking about. Head on back to command you.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the E-commerce Redneck podcast. Today we're doing a culture cast with a great friend of mine, Brad Rochefort, and he is an amazing screenwriter, but just human, and wanted to share him with you guys. So without further ado, Brad, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do?
Hey, Jeremy, glad to be here on the Redneck podcast. This is great. The E-commerce Redneck. I think it's fun. You brand yourself like that. Really good to see you and glad to be on your podcast. About me, I have a lot of education and experience in writing and business, and they combine well into story. So I help people tell their story, whether it's a screenplay or it's a website or it's the way you market yourself or the way you raise money. My education experience combines money and people and story, and I help people tell their business story. And most people, they don't do a great job at saying what they do. I help people tell their story.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we always ask the question when we have somebody, even on a culture cast, have you ever done anything in e-commerce or related to e-commerce? Possibly you mentioned websites.
Great question. You know, I've done a lot of work with different clients in different areas. One of the colleagues I worked with did AI for Shopify, which is a big e-commerce site. And I'll share that with people just so your audience knows what's out there for automation. Friends of mine had a business. They did, I want to say, 600,000 Shopify websites using artificial intelligence software. It's amazing. What they figured out was that when you onboarded with Shopify, when you went to make your e-commerce website, they said people signed up. It took them an average of like 40 days. From the first day they clicked on it to the day they actually got it going, it took forever. And they streamlined that down to like under an hour. I think well under an hour. And they got people moving. So I think it's good for anybody who thinks about getting into e-commerce that AI software can get you there a lot quicker. I've had clients who have e-commerce websites. I've given advice and consulting on the way they use social media to market themselves. I have a calendar that I show clients that helps you see a way to have a strategy for when you post online. Would you like to hear about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So when I look at screenwriting, it's easy to understand people's attention because there's box office dollars. The Marvel movies come out and we can see that so many million people went there, how many tickets were sold. And when you study it like I have, I went to USC and studied Master of Professional Writing and Screenplay there. When you take a good long look at where people's attention goes and how they get in and out of attention, often there's three doors of attention. There is what's new. You tell someone something is new, they listen because it's new, right? The second main door is when something is wrong. If there's a problem, you want to know about it because you want to solve it or avoid it, right? So you tell someone something's new or something's wrong. And then the third door of attention is telling someone what they want. If you know your audience well, if you know your customer, if you know your ideal customer profile or your avatar, when you're doing e-commerce, you can say, I know what you want. You want to buy a Christmas gift in November and not have to shop in the stores when it's snowy or busy, right? You know what they want. And you can say, here's something new. I know your problem and I know what you want. Those are the doors of attention and you can open those. What I found in researching things like that is there's a framework for a month-long calendar. People give an amount of information that's like educational. They're like, here's something you didn't know that I want you to know. Now, not every e-commerce website needs to inform the customer, but if you're creative, you're always letting them know about your product, about your service, about how they can use it. There's some information of like, why do I use your product? Is it that the price is great? Is it that the quality is high? Is it the combination of price and quality? You're informing them about something. You're letting them know. So if you do an information block, right? Don't keep hitting the information block week after week after week, because then your social media goes stale.
Beating a dead horse, if you will.
You got it, man. So you can rotate through action. Here's the action you could take. Then you can rotate into result. Here's how when you take that action, here's how it comes out. Then you can rotate into feeling. Here's how it feels. And I know as guys, a lot of people in tech are men, and we often avoid the feeling part of it. We don't talk about how it feels. You know what? I got my car washed the other day and it felt great. I drove around and I felt better. I sat a little higher up, I rolled the window down, got that breeze in. I felt good. Guys don't often talk about the results in terms of feelings. And what I found is that e-commerce is for everyone. E-commerce is across the board for young, old, men, women.
Everybody uses it.
Everybody uses it. And so we tend as guys in tech to reflect ourselves. And what I found is to think about the entire audience. Where are they from? What do they like? And so with clients I work with, I show them that you can use a calendar in advance and be like, okay, I'm going to inform them about this much. I'm going to show you how it works and then what happens afterwards and then how it feels. That gives people a really broad canvas to be social when they're doing e-commerce. And it applies to pretty much everybody. There's always something I need to know about your product or service. I definitely want to see it. Like you've seen on YouTube unboxing videos, right? Did you ever watch one?
Oh, yeah.
Right. I want to see what it looks like. That's a piece of information. What is it like to open it up? Show it to me. I want to get a good look at all the different sides of it. But if you were just unboxing videos, you'd hit the same note. So as a writer, I like to help people get a well-rounded look at what their customer wants and what they're doing. And then different people use different stats. They have different ways of tracking things. I think from that point, you can start to track it, but it's just more strategic to think I'm doing commerce and it's not in person. So I don't get to see the customer. When you have classic commerce, like I've worked in retail, you have that classic interaction. Good morning. How are you? And you're like, everybody in the morning is happy. Everybody in the afternoon is busy. Everybody in the afternoon is in e-commerce, when you don't see the people, you have to rely on the data of social media.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny too is you mentioned storytelling, and I think that's so important in e-commerce or on a website. My original degree is in theology, and so, I studied to be a minister, a preacher, and I, immediately went into sales after college because I realized I couldn't make a living. And so, it related very well because you're essentially selling a concept or an idea if you're a preacher in the same way that you are selling either a product or a concept or a service when you're a salesman. And for me, it always has had to be that I trusted in the product that I was selling. I couldn't sell junk. I couldn't be sleazy about it. But, when it comes to a lot of this, I think you're right. Sometimes as men, we tend to clobber projects. We don't really tell a story. We're like social advertising, CO, but we're not planning it all out and thinking about it and thinking about how it will affect the bottom line, help conversions, exactly what, how does it all come together? I love the idea, as soon as you said, I help people that tell their story, whether that's film or whatever, I'm sitting here going, this very likely could be a more e-commerce heavy talk simply because I think that's one of the greatest things, for instance, right? A good example, and I won't name the name of the agency, but I took over from an agency that was a major agency in the United States with a company called Kettlebell Kings, and they had a problem with conversions. They were at 1.5. I put a thing on there called Lucky Orange to kind of, monitor and see how they were interacting, their customers were interacting with the site, and move things around accordingly to better fit the idea, and that's a very simplified version of telling the story better. But you can take that a step further. We were able to affect their bottom line, take them to 3% conversion rate and hold them there for a long time. And, but man, if you're really being decisive and you really want to get some direction, bringing somebody in like Brad, which you can reach him on LinkedIn anytime. He's connected to me. Bringing somebody in to figure out the storyline for your marketing will make it make so much more sense. I've seen people on Instagram be so planned that they literally made all of their posts tie in graphically to one another. And that tells you right there, those people are telling a story. So I'm excited about that. So tell me more about, how does a website tell a story? Where do you see that happening the most? How do you work with a client like that?
That's a great question, Jeremy. I think there's two states that happen when you're selling something, a product or a service. You can take people from a state of not knowing about you to knowing about you. That's one, right? They didn't know about you. Now they do. Or they know about you and you can convert them. And it's a challenge to take them from I've never heard of you to I want what you have. And just be aware of that very simple framework. They never know about you, and now they know about you. You should just check the box with the green check mark. The job done. Now they know about me. That's step one. Step two is once you know about me, then I can tell you, how I'm going to help you change. I think I've used frameworks from people like Russell Brunson. Russell Brunson has done tens and tens of millions of dollars of business helping people with ClickFunnels. And the ClickFunnel method is helping people who are entrepreneurs, who are doing e-commerce, to envision. He uses an analogy from the movie The Wizard of Oz. The yellow brick road is a golden path towards what you want. And he says, try to picture the golden path towards what your customer wants. If you, Jeremy, have a friend who's on a fitness journey, their golden path or their yellow brick road, their destination is to be fit, right? And then you might put some benchmarks or stepping stones in there and be like, okay, step one is to lose 10 pounds. Step two is to gain some muscle. Step three is to be able to run your marathon, right? Step one is not the marathon. But if you just be like, I don't know, someone else helps you get to marathons. I just help you do step one. They might go look for someone else that has step two and step three down on the road. And so if you're doing e-commerce, even if it's a very small percentage of people who are going to do step two and step three, have it, right? It's the reason if you go to a bar, they have a bottle of champagne. People are there for a beer or for a cocktail. They're not there for a $200 bottle of champagne, or as I heard recently, $1,000 bottle of champagne. But they have one. They have one because if the circumstances are right and I'm in your establishment or I'm on your website or I'm in your process and I want to keep going, I know I could. And I think that's something to think of for e-commerce is telling a story. It's like you said, your conversion rates, you've got someone from 1.5% conversion rates to 3%, which means that like 95% of the people don't want it. And that could be overwhelming. You're like, oh my gosh, most people don't want it. You're like, that's true, but it's a numbers game. So if you have even just a fraction of people who want the bottle of champagne or the big project or the big offer, you got to still put it there because that's a story. Now I know that if I became very, very successful, you could help me, right? I wouldn't have to go somewhere else and get started again and learn what they do. So storytelling happens by informing people of who you are, and then informing people how you help them, and then offering them a second and third step on their journey. And that's knowing who they are. And they're not like once upon a time stories. It's just picturing what might happen and then very patiently writing out, well, if 1.5 to 3% of the people who showed up wanted this, and I took 100,000 people, that's 3,000 people. And then out of those 3,000 people, maybe one of them wants the very big project, the very big consult, the very big engagement. You can put that in a story on your website and say, I know you. I know eventually you want to get to this great place and I can help you. The first way I help you is step one, because I know you and this is true. And like you said, if you can be authentic and come from a place of truth about it and I do my best to not engage with people who are inauthentic, but they found a roundabout way to say something that's technically true. I think that's a very short-sighted plan.
It's a very small niche that disappears on you because it's not true. You know, if you drive somebody towards a false niche, don't be surprised when they disappear when the competitor educates them, you know?
Yeah. You know what I like? You know our friend Sonny.
Yeah.
Sonny once said, Brad, he goes, we're not AI experts. He said, we're AI software users. And I thought, well, that's good to hear because now I'm not going to sound stupid. So I stopped saying I'm an AI expert because he's like, we're not AI experts. He's like, we don't know how to program the computer. He's like, we don't know the math. We don't know the engineering. He's like, we use the software.
Well, you know, and it's funny that you say it like that. You know, I think like once you have your story down, like one of the best things you could do if somebody like yourself prepped a story is train your own personal like Chat GPT with that story. This is our persona. Help me speak like this. And everything you write, run it through Chat GPT. Have it help bring the story out in everything you say. I think that's a great way to look at what you're writing and get it going even better. I have for each one of my consulting clients, I train a GPT to help me figure out things for them. Do I trust it completely? No, I don't trust it completely, but I know enough to know when something's complete BS and I work around it. But I think just like even that part of it, so that you keep in the right mentality when you're writing for your and keep it driving towards that. That's another benefit of using somebody like yourself to not just tell the marketing story or the approach with design or any of that, but to even, use AI further with it. And, it's funny, like Shopify just came out with a new thing it's called Sidekick. It's been around for a little bit. It's amazing. You now can be in the middle of a template, and I always tell people when you're first starting out, go get a template. There's thousands of them. Modify it, modify a third of it, switch it up, change colors, but don't spend all your money on that. I would rather somebody spend their money instead of going 30, 40,000 in design, put it into what is your storyline. Then you're starting out with the truth about yourself that you're going to be able to keep consistent moving forward. And you're casting the vision of how they look at you and how you appear to the public.
Yeah. It's a very wide open frontier in 2025 and 2026 and forward of how much of what the world sees of you, you're in control of. Whereas 20 years ago, you had to get interviewed by the newspaper. You had to get interviewed by the radio. You couldn't conduct your own interview. You couldn't put your own newspaper out there the way you can today. And for the people under 25, I think they don't even have that mentality. It's all they know. And for the people over 35, we have to remind ourselves that we are the newspaper now. And it's up to us to show people the sides of our product and our service that we want them to see. One of the best things I could suggest is either get a consultant or get, a dedicated hour of research and ask very easy questions of your chat, Claude, whatever your chat. Ask them about not which one is the best, but how to use the tools you want to use. Say, you know what? I think I'm going to use LinkedIn and YouTube. How do I use that? And how are they different? And if you don't even know that, you say, you know what? Gosh, I'm just not that smart. I never know what to ask. Type that into ChatGPT. Say, ChatGPT, I'm not that smart. I never know what to ask, but I want to get here. Just put that pin on the map of I want to get here. And you'll be surprised, Jeremy. You can use the keyboard or you can use your voice and just speak it out loud with the voice button, right? You'd be surprised how quickly you get somewhere good by being very honest with the tool. Don't try to be deceptive or smarter than you are. Just be like, I have absolutely no idea, but I know I'd like to sell more things. I know I'd like to help more customers. I know I'd like to be somewhere. Just say it. Just say it without any ego.
Well, and there's a very good tool when you look under the apps on Chat GPT called Monday, and it's basically a scrutinizer. It will make fun of you. It will ask you every question it can come up with. So one of the things that I like to tell people to do is do exactly what you just said. Go in there, have a conversation, or type it out. Either way, people are different. Some people enjoy typing. They're psychos, but they enjoy typing. No, I'm joking. No. But, you can talk to it. And then when you get the output, go and scrutinize it a bit. Get it to help you scrutinize it. Ask all the questions. That's really where you develop, a completed concept with something like that. And getting a little Q&A from Chat GPT doesn't hurt, to make sure you got it dialed in. So outside of e-commerce, what things have you been involved with? What has been your world in the screenwriting?
A good question. Screenwriting is evolving. AI software is helping bridge the distance between people and content. And I'm keenly watching the way people are using AI software to create. I've written 8 feature film scripts. I wrote and produced a short film that played in festivals in New York, LA, England, Italy, Central America, and online. I wrote a screenwriting textbook, which I'll grab off the shelf behind me here, The Secrets of Screenwriting.
Cool.
Yeah, I wrote this before AI. So, I typed it. I must have a bookmark in there somewhere on one of the pages. So I'm very well versed in storytelling. And I enjoy telling stories. It's absolutely a very big world. and there's only a handful of movies that get made. I also do business consulting, which you can appreciate, right? Sometimes you're good at two things.
Well, and I think that what a great way to kind of shift the mentality, you know. It kind of reminds me of our friend Freddie Ravel and his Life in Tune, you know.
Yeah.
It's just taking music and looking at business from that perspective, you know, from music theory type perspective. It's brilliant, you know, and I think, you know, I'm a 49-year-old man. I am getting older and I've seen ageism in my industry, but I am always looking to improve and get better at what I do and find new avenues in. Currently building an oil field classifieds website, you know, so it's like there's several things that I built outside of the norm, even, you know, just going along and growing. But I think you're right. Like, honestly, screenwriting, if you look at it from that perspective, more of storytelling, boy, that's a whole new life to it. I love it, Brad. And guys, I have to tell you, I've been friends with Brad going on, I guess, about 3 or 4 years now. Not only is he brilliant and can bring a lot of life to your business, if you feel like you maybe don't have the vision that you need to clarify that. That storytelling can do that. I would just say, if you want a very sincere, honest, and hardworking individual, Brad is the man. And like we said before, you can get in touch with them on LinkedIn. Brad, anything else you want to plug before we get off, or anything you want to talk about?
I'm also on YouTube every Thursday live to air with David
That's
Layton,
right.
our friend. Yeah, on his Witty, WITI
.com.
Workforce Innovation. We go live to YouTube every Thursday morning at 9:30 Eastern. And it's a show called The Latest, where we talk about the latest in AI and tech. There's so much new information every 7 days that it's great to keep up on the latest.
Well, and I definitely say I met you in a group called Metal. You want to learn about that, you can go to metal.men online. But we also both are in another group called Witty, which you had mentioned, WITI.com. They have over 36,000 members. We do the e-commerce community in there as well. But this is kind of, I want to just take a little minute to advertise for them, because that is the kind of diversity you get in being a part of Witty, going to an e-commerce group and then going to an AI group to learn what's new, to help keep ahead of things, you know, then going to a group like Listen and Be Heard to share space with people. It's amazing. It's a great benefit. I know both the groups have been a great benefit to me and Brad, but specifically it's a co-ed group, and I'd like to invite all of y'all not only to come see his show, but to come see mine. And we'd love for you to join. I think it's as low as like $29 a month for a ton of different meetings you can take advantage of. So, but Brad, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I just like sharing these culture casts and sharing my extraordinary friends like yourself. So look forward to putting this one out for you, brother.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, everybody.
Excellent. Thank you.
Country boy off far from home, doing what he can to keep the lights turned on. This city man, he's got me headed south. I brought a girl from off the dirt road, a Sherman County cutie with a little bit of down home. Likes her line with a splash of so cold, if you know what I'm talking about.